Here's Brody Brazil.
As you know, a lot of relocation and potential Las Vegas and stadium videos here on the YouTube channel, but let's actually now just talk A's baseball. Strictly on the field stuff here. I guess it should relate a little bit to their potential ambitions to move, and this is a team that's got to get better. If they really are going to open up in Nevada in 2028, I mean, 2024 and 2025 and 2026, those are valuable years of building towards getting better again, but there's already kind of the question about 2024. Will this team once again lose 100 games? The century mark. And that's only happened 3 times in the history of Oakland A's baseball. 1979 was the high or low water mark of 108 losses, and then it didn't happen again until 2022. 60-102 was their record 2 seasons ago, and then last year, 50-112. Last year's team at one point was 12-50. They were on pace for a far worse fate than 50-112, but they kind of rallied in the second half to actually improve their record, but still, they became the worst record team in the history of Oakland A's baseball, which is crazy, right? It had only happened once, a 100-loss season at 108 in 1979, so you knew it would happen again, but what are the chances it happened in 2022 and 2023? And quite honestly, even improving 12 games, which is not easy, it's not a guarantee, this team is likely to flirt with 100 losses again. Let's go back to 2023 as the worst Oakland season. As I mentioned, 12-50 was their low point. 25 wins at home, 24 on the road, so really all of that was evenly split. Their worst months were April and May. They had 6-23 records in both of those months, back-to-back. Their best months were July. They had 10 wins, fewer games, obviously, and then 11 wins in September. They actually kind of found themselves end of the season. A lot of call-ups, got a lot more comfortable, and so they won 11 games, and that was their best month. They were on the field, statistically, as a team, last or close to last in most major hitting and pitching stats, not just in the American League, but across Major League Baseball. So it wasn't just one thing or another that cost them games. They didn't score a lot of runs. They allowed a lot of runs. As simple as that. 2023 was the worst season of Oakland A's history. And again, it begs the question, are they guaranteed to lose another 100 games in 2024? What do you think? It's my opinion that that is not guaranteed. They can improve by 15 games and only end up in the 90-something loss range. But I do think there are several factors working against them, and I'm not here to say it's guaranteed, but I am here to say that at this point, it certainly seems likely. Now, this is a team that should be better based on one thing alone. Maybe some other things, but one thing alone. Their youth, their young players, are a lot more seasoned. Esteury Ruiz, we saw his speed last year. We also, unfortunately, saw his injury for a full month. He set a new American League rookie record of stolen bases, but I think in a full season, and so long as he's in the lineup on an everyday basis, I think he can easily steal 80 bags next year. Yeah, that'd be phenomenal. I also think Zach Geloff, if he keeps the bat rolling the way it did last year, I don't think it would be a shock if he hit 285 in 2024. Really like his consistency at the plate. Shea Langoliers, he started to get his bat back last season. The defense was pretty solid, but he started to hit more homers, which is kind of what broke him into the big leagues. He was hitting all the long balls with the Aviators and got noticed and got called up. And I think he's done a phenomenal job. It's hard for catchers to really develop at the major league level, but I think he's capable of more dingers in 2024. Lawrence Butler, and I love this comparison because I think they fit the same prototype. Is he a Dave Henderson Part 2? Hendu Part 2. He's out there in center field, just like Lawrence. Bigger frame, like very athletic man. Has some power when he makes contact, just like Hendu. Has got some range out there in center field. There are so many Hendu comparisons I could make. And I feel like the more we watch the Law Dog, Lawrence Butler, I do feel like we're going to see that connection just a little bit more. So that is one player. It was a pleasure to meet him last year. I really the late 80s A's guy in me really is reaching to make that comparison, but I also think it's quite accurate, actually. Brent Rooker, he was the A's All-Star. Did I say Mr. Homers? More homers also is what I was trying to type out there. He obviously got to the 30 plateau last year in dingers, and I know that's what he's going to try and do again this year. Ryan Noda was an on-base king. Now, he got hit in the jaw with that grounder during infield practice, had to miss a bunch of time. But this is a player at the top of the lineup, was sometimes the A's leadoff guy, but a lot of times in the two-hole, he just gets on base like nobody's business in a multitude of ways, but I really love his eye. I love his patience at the plate. Okay, so that's all position players. How about J.P. Sears? He pitched close to 200 innings last year. He was a start to finish starter in the A's rotation, literally the only one who has that claim. So I really like him as an anchor in the A's rotation. Mason Miller. Sounds like he's going to make the transition from starter to bullpen pitcher, maybe even to closer of the Oakland A's this season. So we'll see how that shakes out. And then there's Joe Boyle, who I think we only saw in just 2 starts at the end of last season. He came over in a trade, but man, he was exceptional. Velocity, tall, long, lanky frame. I feel like I can already see him as a top of the rotation guy for the Oakland A's in 2024. So again, just to summarize here, this is a team which should be better, at least in one way for sure. The young players that they brought in last year, played a lot of innings last year. These players should all be that much more better and confident this season, and I think that alone is an area and a reason to think if the A's do make a push and they do win some more games than just 50, these players are going to be the big reason why. Next thing I want to think about is free agency or the lack of it entering 2024. As of right now, the team has only signed pitcher Trevor Gott to a 1-year, $1.5 million contract. And that's it. Free agents, it's been rumored and it's been actually confirmed by general manager David Forst. They're a bit leery of signing multi-year deals with the A's because of the unknown. What does 2025 and beyond bring for this team? Like, what city will they actually call home? And the team's had a tough time signing free agents, bringing in players, trying to help out that group. Again, that group, which I just showed you on the screen, they're good and they'll get better. But if you want to accelerate this process, you have to bring in a little bit of talent externally to aid and facilitate in that. The projected payroll, as shared by general manager David Forst back in December, he said it was around $43 million, and it might be a little bit more than that to start the season. Still going to put you at the bottom of payrolls in Major League Baseball. The A's also have 0 players in MLB's top 100 pipeline prospect list. You can find that at MLB.com, but it is a little bit frustrating to zip through that list and see not any A's players reflected on it for the future of the franchise. So not a lot of external help for that group. Essentially, if this team's going to get better, that group kind of has to do it all on their own. And they're also in a very tough American League West. And this has kind of always been the case. When the Angels were a lot better or the Mariners were, kind of surging in different seasons. Obviously, the Astros, when they came in, they were really bad. And then they did a complete 180. The Rangers have always kind of existed in the conversation. Well, now the Rangers just won the World Series. And the Astros were division leaders last year at the end of the regular season. The Mariners were oh so close to making the playoffs again, and they think they're the next big thing. They had that rut of, 20-plus years of not making the playoffs? So they're close to it again. They're hungry. They're going to do everything they can. It really is those 3 teams right there that are going to compete for the AL West and compete for playoff spots in the American League with a wild card. The Angels, I don't know what to expect. I wish Ron Washington the absolute best, but they've been in shambles now for basically a decade. Haven't been to the playoffs since 2014. Haven't had a winning record. They never had a winning record with Trout and Ohtani on the same team at the same time. That's crazy. And now they don't have Shohei Ohtani. So what are they going to do down there in SoCal? I'm going to say the Angels wind up better than the A's record-wise, but I'm going to separate them from the top 3 teams, and really what makes this a very tough division to play in and against in 2024. So that's going to go against the A's. I also think that as next season goes along, the A's are once again going to be sellers at the deadline. Now, I'm not here to suggest that a Zach Geloff or an Esterio Ruiz gets traded. Players with team control, right? Players in their arbitration years or even pre-arb. Like, we're not talking about those players. But a Paul Blackburn, a Seth Brown, maybe even a Shea Langoliers. There's a couple other catchers in the A's pipeline, which I know they really like. Those players might get moved. And especially if the team is struggling towards the trade deadline, then you can almost be certain that the A's will be in selling mode, and their final month or two are going to be even worse than how things started out roster-wise. Being a seller can only impact the current team more negatively. And again, if this is not a season preview, but this is the question, if they're going to lose 100 games again, the trade deadline and being sellers is obviously not going to help you get away from 100 losses. And I'm closing out the video with this. You talk about fan support and the crowds at the Coliseum and everything that happened, obviously, in 2023. It was very traumatic, the process that A's fans went through. But there also is kind of the price of, if they are really going to Las Vegas, the 2023 home average was 10,275 fans per game. Mostly elevated from a couple big attendance games they had, June 13th, the reverse boycott, and a few others where fans really wanted to send a message. But the road average, these are road games played by the A's, they average 26,700 fans, almost 27,000 fans per game when they play on the road. So their road games are way more attended than their home games. And look, this is not a video about the chicken or the egg and why this is like this is. If you want that explanation, I'll link to a different video on that. I've got that here on the channel. But the point is, you really don't have a home field advantage, and you've escaped any type of home field advantage you've ever had because of the price of wanting to relocate to Vegas, playing these seasons while your fans are already upset. There's likely to be a lot greater fan emotion in 2024. Does that mean more people coming to games or probably more people avoiding games? I mean, it's yet to be determined, but I'm just here to say that crowds at the Coliseum might look even a lot more different in 2024. And some of that, again, falls into the final product of a team that's just trying to win more baseball games. If you're talking about the players on the field and Mark Kotsay, the manager, and his coaching staff, and everybody involved from the baseball side of things, I do want to close out with this, and I probably should have started with this. They're trying to not make this happen. This is not intentional by anybody that has hands on the baseball side of things with the Oakland A's. Like, of course, they're competitors. They don't want that as any part of their summer upcoming in 2024. But I think it's what the players and the team is up against that might put them in this situation. So again, I'm not here to guarantee it by any means. I think it's going to be an uphill battle, but I think because of several factors, it's probably likely once again that they lose 100 games for 3 straight years. You made it here to the end of the video. You know I appreciate that. Thumbs up down below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so I can definitely see you back here next time.